Listen, you little wiseacre.
I'm big.
You're little.
I'm right.
You're wrong.
When you're very small, the world is a very big place. But for Matilda, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Matilda. Rated PG.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Y2Gay Movie Podcast. This is a new pod celebrating cult films from the 90s and early 2000s, preferably ones with a devoted queer following. You could say we put the itch in bitch and the whore in horrifying. And no, this is not a democracy. It's a tearocracy. And no, we are not covering Bring It On today, but we are covering a great little darkly comic dysfunctional family gem that is celebrating its 30th anniversary this week. And that is Danny DeVito and Roald Dahl's Matilda. Now, you may be asking, is Matilda really a cult film? And I say, absolutely, because the film was actually not a box office hit and may have even lost money when factoring marketing costs. But it became this huge video store rental staple in the 90s and has developed a huge cult following over the past 3 decades, particularly among millennials around our age. You can stream this film on Netflix or rent it on Amazon, Apple TV, and Fandango. My guest today on the pod is a college friend I've known for, I don't really want to do the math, several years now, however old we are.
A redacted amount of years.
A redacted amount, yes. We'll just bleep that. He is an actor, a director, a writer, a manager, and formerly an early childhood educator, which is perfect for this episode. So please welcome Travis Neese.
Very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. I thought you were perfect for this. I mean, you even have some artwork, right, from this film. Do you want to show?
I do. So one of my friends who will also be featured on the pod later from college knows how much I love this movie. And for a couple years, years back for Christmas, I got this beautiful painted print that hangs in our guest room. So it's a nice little welcome. Yeah, it's just... for those not watching the video, it's like this beautiful, like kind of splatter paint print of the iconic scene of Matilda pulling the wagon of books. Yeah, it's just a beautiful print. So shout out to Brittany for getting me for this.
Thanks for coming through, Brittany. That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, you would have worked with kids who were close to Matilda's age, right? For several years.
Yeah, I started off here in Chicago as just kind of a preschool assistant teacher and kind of jumped from classroom to classroom. And the school that I worked at was from about a year and a half all the way up to 6. So I started as an assistant teacher, then moved up to a lead teacher for a 2s and 3s classroom, and then transitioned into director. And then for a little bit of time, I was an assistant head of school at a Montessori school here in Chicago. So I kind of saw the full gamut of both in the classroom and the kind of behind the scenes administration, and eventually became the kind of administrator figure that was not putting kids in the chokey. So
I was going to ask, like, yeah, how similar was the school in this film to your experience as an educator?
Yes. You know, I was very lucky that the preschool that I taught at was a beautiful building. It was a very nice school overall. There were not, small rooms with shards of glass to shove children into.
Nails hanging out of the walls.
Right. Just like, if the children needed a little body break, we had a safe, small space that, was not a confined space.
Yeah, I'm glad it was not quite to the level that is presented in this film, because it's a little bit of a horror story. I had not watched this movie in several years, and we were talking before we started recording, and I just forgot. Part of the reason I hadn't watched it because I was just in my head, I was like, oh, this is a kid's movie, it's nostalgic, but I don't need to watch this that much. But as I'm revisiting this, I'm like, it is a fucking dark kids movie, especially by today's standards. And I think there were just all these movies in the 90s that they were not talking down to kids at all. In fact,
Yeah.
they were, I think because there were still usually only a couple TVs in the household at the time. The family was still sitting around watching these movies, so they had to include this, dark humor that would appeal to adults too, which makes it really fun to watch as an adult, because it's like, oh, like I get some of these jokes that I wouldn't have got. Like there's she's talking about getting like a wax at one point and
on
things
the phone,
like on the phone. Like that went way over my head
Your life
kid,
will change when you wax yours, believe me. Some of those conversations, I'm like, ma'am.
No. Yeah, just some of this adult humor that just goes, and there were so many movies like this, right? Like the Addams Family movies, and like Jumanji even, I remember, had some like really adult humor in it, and Hocus Pocus, of course, and Casper, and Nightmare Before Christmas. But yeah, they were definitely trying to appeal to both kids and adults, which was nice. Looking back at it, I'm glad we weren't too scarred by some of these movies, but
it's funny
because
when we were watching, it reminded me of like, I feel like this movie as if Harriet the Spy's revenge path was a little more pure. Like it's like they're like a branch off of like, childhood getting revenge. And I felt like the Harriet the Spy was a little more like snarky, malicious, and Matilda was like, yeah, I'm gonna just like get revenge, but like we'll super glue a hat to a hair.
Yeah,
Harriet the Spy was like cutting pigtails off. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah, I started rewatching that the other day too, and then I got distracted. But there's a lot of snark in that movie for sure. Like there's a monologue she has toward the beginning of the movie where she's talking about how like, oh, that kid, we don't know anything about him, and if I was him, I would just kill myself. Like I would hang myself. And and then she's talking about how the teacher is like, oh, maybe she's like a psychopath who's just gonna go crazy one day and like kill everyone. And I'm like, what? This is a kid's movie, child.
It was her own little burn book.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's always fascinating to watch these movies because there's stuff that they just wouldn't do today for better or for worse. I think it did prepare us for teenhood and adulthood a little bit by giving us a little bit of this dark humor, because I think if you shelter kids too much, then it's like, well, then they're going to really struggle as adults. But I don't know. Yeah, all the Roald Dahl stories were. They had some dark humor laced throughout, which was always nice. And
I also feel like it's like the level of dark humor that like it's like almost like a trust in youth, like that they can handle it. And it also has like such a good payoff too. Like it does have like kind of that really great just arc at the end too, by going there and having some of that like darker humor, these kind of bigger, larger than life villains. I just that's something that I've always liked about like the Roald Dahl adaptations, is like there is that kind of central feeling of that like kind of really big overarching, sometimes larger than life evil that is kind of forcing some of that like adult life onto these kids to have to grow up and figure out.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately good, in the long run, that they need to have at least some exposure to that as kids to help prepare you for some of the horrors that are coming as adults. And you're right. I mean, it makes it more of a sort of epic arc when they are fighting against something that's sort of larger than life. I got very Harry Potter vibes from this watching this time. I don't know about you, but like everything about this movie is, I mean, she's in this neglectful household with these caregivers and who are abusing her. And then of course she finds out she has powers, and then she goes off to this new school, which is not like quite as fantastical as Hogwarts or whatever, but it's still, there's some whimsy here going on. But yeah, it did make me kind of wonder, like, well, first of all, I should note that J.K. Rowling and Roald Dahl are both problematic individuals. Roald Dahl had some really anti-Semitic comments toward the end of his life that we obviously don't endorse on this podcast. And of course, J.K. Rowling has made some very incendiary remarks about trans people in particular that we do not endorse on this podcast. At the end of the day, these stories have outlived him, and I'm sure her stories will outlive her as well. It does make me wonder, though, if she was somewhat influenced by this story, because the original Matilda book came out in 1988, I think. There's just a lot of sort of overarching similarities there that I hadn't really thought about too much. And even in the way it's shot reminded me of the first couple Harry Potter movies to some degree.
Yeah, and even like some of the like kind of character, like stock character bits. Like, I mean, like Lavender could be like kind of like the Hermione, like kind of the smarter friend that they connect with. Hortensia, I guess, could be Ron. Who knows?
yeah, totally. There were a lot of great adaptations of Roald Dahl's works coming out around this time period. I mean, of course, in the 70s you had Willy Wonka, which I know is like one of your favorite movies, right? Like of all time. So it's well, he had a whole string of really hits with his books here, because he had James and the Giant Peach in 1961, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in 1964, like Fantastic Mr. Fox in 1970, the BFG in 1982, The Witches in 1983, and then Matilda in 1988. And there were some other stories mixed in there too, but those are the big ones that all got film adaptations that were pretty successful, I would say. I forgot that James and the Giant Peach came out the same year as Matilda too, which was interesting.
And it's interesting, especially because that one goes into like the animated reality. Like my brain like doesn't put them in the same like time for some reason.
No, but, me neither. Me neither. And I was trying to remember if I saw this in theaters, because I'm a couple years older than you, and I don't think I did, but I did see James and the Giant Peach, which makes me think like, okay, why did my parents take me to see James and the Giant Peach, but not Matilda? Because I do remember seeing a lot of these kids' movies in theaters at the time.
I wonder if like at the time, like the marketing, like the previews or whatever, like James and the Giant Peach, clearly like I'm guessing because of the art style, they wanted to like really lean into that. And so maybe parents were like, animated film, like let's do that in theaters.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah. Cause like Toy Story was a huge hit around that time. So it makes sense that they were, really trying to push these animated movies for a box office success. Yeah, I was reading this one, Matilda, like I said in the opening, it really was not a huge box office hit. It was released on August 2nd, 1996, and it grossed $47 million against a $36 million budget, which isn't bad, but when you factor in marketing costs and stuff, it probably about broke even. So it wasn't like a huge hit, but then it became this big video store staple, and it looks like it grossed about over $20 million in VHS and other physical media sales. So like it definitely found its following. It just didn't happen in theaters initially, which is interesting.
Yeah. And I know like even today, like they, obviously with like the anniversaries and stuff coming up, they like do a bunch of stuff, but like, I know there's like usually like at least like one film showing of it in theaters like every year. So like it like really seems to have found like another life now that like we are getting older, and some of our our age group, like we're having kids, and it's very much like I feel like it's one of those movies that like does stand the test of like, oh, I watched this as a child and I loved it, I'm gonna show it to my kids and it still holds up and I'll still be able to enjoy it.
Totally.
Which for sure doesn't often happen with kids films.
No, and I think especially these days, because I think many of the kids movies that come out today are designed to be films that the kids can watch by themselves on their little screens, on their tablets and smartphones. So they don't necessarily have to appeal to adults as much as the kids movies in the 90s did, which again, like you said, is what makes them so fun to rewatch. Because there's a fair amount of humor in a movie like this, and like Addams Family and these other movies that like I didn't really get as a kid, but I still love these movies. I just some of the stuff just went over my head, but watching it as an adult, it's fun because it's like, oh, okay, I understand this, and I get that little joke there. I definitely remember wearing this VHS tape out, though. I watched it all the freaking time. I don't know about you, but go ahead.
Even like watching it back, like this is one of those movies that like I can pretty much just dialogue with them. Like there are just so many like zingers and just like lines, the way that they're written and how it's delivered too, just like the cadence that these performers give, that it's like a sleeper cell activation. Like like even immediately, like babies better off raising tomatoes in the beginning, like Rhea Perlman doing that, it's just like a sleeper cell activation. I'm like, wow, we're watching Matilda.
What a performance she gives throughout this.
Truly. And I hope that she, similar to like Meryl Streep in Devil Wears Prada or Reese Witherspoon in Legally Blonde, I hope Rhea Perlman was like, I want all of my outfits for this film because she looks incredible. I love everything she wears.
Yeah, she always looks like she's on the way to this like senior citizen like bingo night or something, you know. It's just, I love it. I love it. It's so fantastic.
I've recently seen like a video or like a meme too of like the family, and it's like all of them in their very unique outfits, and it's like, this is the LGBTQ like spectrum right here. We've got mom, Danny DeVito, the brother, and Matilda, and I'm like, this looks like the modern LGBTQ representation.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I have been trying to pick films for this podcast, like I said, that have a queer following, and I think this film qualifies. I mean, I think it has a wider following as well, but there's a lot of things in this movie that I think resonate with queer people in particular, like this idea of just kind of feeling like an other in your own family and wanting to branch out and find a new family. And it's kind of got some like Carrie and X-Men vibes, just so, you know, with this like little girl gaining powers. And
it's funny. I wrote down, I was like, I blame this movie and constantly watching Charmed for why I was basically like Mary Catherine Gallagher, just pretending to telekinetically blast people when I was a child.
Yes,
I would just be angry and like squinting my eyes like Matilda or Prue Halliwell.
I forgot that it's pretty late in the movie that she really starts to like get a hold on her powers, and then which is good. You know, you don't want the character to be this telekinetic force like too early in the movie and be doing all this crap. But
right.
But and they're very smart about how they use it in the movie too. They're kind of smaller scenes at first, and then they kind of build as the movie goes along, which I appreciate. All the effects in this like hold up really well. Yeah. I was like, wow, because I don't think there's a whole lot of CGI. Like maybe in that scene where the cards and stuff are flying a little bit, but it looked like mostly practical for the most part, which was.
It's really awesome to see, especially with like how much lately films just automatically defer to over CGI or AI at this point, unfortunately.
Well, did you see Zemeckis's The Witches, the remake that they did a couple years ago of it?
No, I missed it.
It had a lot of CGI in it, which doesn't surprise me because he's been leaning into that a lot lately. But there's definitely something about, you know, watching these movies, like even the original Witches, like just all the practical effects in that movie and in this movie too are just really impressive, and it makes them, I think, hold up even better. But yeah, I remember, like I said, just re-watching this VHS over and over again. I even remember like the previews that were on this VHS. There's one for the movie Buddy, which had Rene Russo in it. It was like this gorilla movie. And then there was like a Fly Away Home one. And then there was this it was a commercial for Dragonflies, the toys, and it was like this animated sequence that they made. And again, it's just all kind of ingrained in my head. I think it was the Jumanji preview on there. It's the nostalgia, man. And it really is kind of a nice little gateway horror movie too, in a sense that like there are some really tense and kind of, you know, fucked up scenes in this too. Like I forgot how long that chase scene in the house goes later on. Like it just keeps going.
I will do a TED talk on how that chase sequence is like one of the top 5 chase sequences in film. Like it is so well done, and the score is incredible. Like that's one thing that sticks out from this film to me. Like even in like adult life is like the score. It's so well done, and like those chase sequences, or even just like the music choice and the soundtracking that they pick. The music choices for this film, how like it just elevates it, and to me, and is part of the reason why it's so iconic. Because there's no way that I hear those songs and don't think of Matilda in my life.
Totally. Yeah, that Rusted Root song, the like "Send Me On My Way," and like that some of the soundtrack choices that they made. That they're so associated with this movie at this point. And you're right, the score, which was by David Newman, who I was looking, he did some of the music in Anastasia and like Heathers and Bill and Ted and Galaxy Quest. Also Jingle All the Way, which is a movie that I think we both love. So
that'll be a holiday episode for us to talk about.
Yes. That's a great one. I think Chris likes that one too, so maybe we can all three get together and talk about that movie. It's one of those movies people seem to either love or hate, you know. But
it's a pendulum.
It's a pendulum. I think Brittany, I remember, hates that one. But I'm like, all right,
yes. We angrily watched a few times together.
That's funny. But yeah, you're right. The score is what stood out to me. One of the big things that stood out to me this time as well. It's at times kind of like Danny Elfman-esque, like very frenetic and like almost circus-like.
Yeah.
But then in the really like emotional moments, man, like I like was almost crying, like just with some of these moments where, and I, like you said, I think it was the scoring more than the performances as well, but just really emotionally resonant moments with the choices that he made with that are, you know, fantastic. I'm jumping back a sec to the box office at the time, if anybody's curious. So Matilda opened number 3. Number 1 was A Time to Kill. That was that Joel Schumacher legal drama with Matthew McConaughey and Sandra Bullock and Samuel Jackson, which I've seen, but it's actually been like a long time. I should revisit that. Number two was Independence Day, which was, you know, a big, huge hit at the time. It was the highest grossing movie of the year. And then Matilda was number 3. And then number 4 was this movie I don't remember at all, and maybe you was. It was called Chain Reaction. It was this kind of sci-fi movie with Keanu Reeves, which, all right.
No, I don't think I caught that one.
Yeah, you as a like 2 or 3 year old, right? Didn't catch that one in theaters at the time. And then number five was this movie Phenomenon, which had John Travolta, Keira Sedgwick, and others. It's always interesting to go back and see what was popular at the box office at the time, because some of the movies have definitely withstood the test of time and some of them have not.
Yeah.
It's not always the ones that you expect either. Sometimes it's like, oh, that's the movie that we still remember. Interesting, but not these other ones.
Well, yeah, I mean, even like kind of thinking like of that time, like Keanu Reeves, like you would think that would be like the big blockbuster that, I don't know, Keanu Reeves is still doing movies. People could still be talking about it now, but we're sitting here talking about Matilda. Like,
we're talking about Matilda.
Danny
That's
DeVito,
the movie.
I love your work.
Danny DeVito, I love your work. And the top songs, if anybody's curious, the number 1 was the Macarena, which of course, because it was everywhere that year. Even at the Democratic National Convention, there's a video of like Hillary Clinton like leading the Macarena. It's so funny. And then number 2 was I Love You Always Forever, which it's got a nice beat there. I love you always forever, near or far. And then there was like an LL Cool J song called Loungin', and then Eric Clapton's Change the World, which is a nice song too. It's got a nice kind of acoustic vibe to it. So that's what was kind of going on with the movies and the music at the time. Production-wise, if anybody's curious, in November 1993, Universal Pictures won a screen adaptation of Matilda, written by writers Nicholas Kazan, who was known for the movies Reversal Fortune, Fallen, and Bicentennial Man, that Robin Williams movie that came out in like the late 90s there.
And that also had Beth DeVito in it, right?
Yes. Yeah, I believe
so. A Little Miss Honey repeat.
That's funny. Yeah. I always think about the 2 movies I think about with her are 13 Ghosts and this, and she plays totally different characters in these movies. But
for me, it's this, and I think of 13 Ghosts, and I also think of The Hole, low key horror film with Thora
from
Birch,
2001.
Keira Knightley.
Yeah. Oh yes. Chris and I covered on the pod. Took me a second to process that. Yes, that is a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. She became a little mini scream queen after she was Miss Honey.
She did, which is funny. Yeah. The other writer was Robin Swickard, who she has done quite a bit. Little Women was one of the writers on Practical Magic, which I forgot about. So there's some connective tissue between Matilda and Practical Magic, which is, we're about to have a sequel for that coming out, of course. Yeah. And Memoirs of a Geisha and Curious Case of Benjamin Button. So she did quite a bit there. Following disagreements between Danny DeVito and Bregman Bear Productions over budgetary concerns, Universal put Matilda into turnaround, with Columbia's sister company TriStar Pictures picking up the project. Danny DeVito and cinematographer Steven Kazapsky made heavy use of wide-angle lenses and exaggerated perspective in a manner similar to the films of Terry Gilliam, which I can see. He did some of these movies like Brazil and 12 Monkeys and The Fisher King and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Very similar, these kind of wide angles throughout. I don't know how true this is. This was on IMDb, but apparently Danny DeVito originally wanted Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen for the title role of Matilda in this.
I love me some Olsen twins. I love me It Takes Two, but to me, there is just something so magical about Mara Wilson's performance that I feel like the Olsen twins, the Olsen twins would almost be too on-camera cute for me. Yes. It's like very much they're like, oh, we're the cute little like kids, whereas Matilda just like Mara Wilson was that like everybody that like you could relate to and feel with.
Yeah, watching her in this movie, you're right. There's something about her performance that just sort of captivates you. There's like an innocence to it. I mean, it was the same in Mrs. Doubtfire, which I think I was reading about. Like that was pretty much what got her the role. Like Danny DeVito saw her in that and wanted her after that. She just has those great little one-liners like, "We're his goddamn kids too." You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. And then they cast Pam Ferris, who is amazing in this movie, as Agatha Trunchbull. And really, everyone in this movie is just so well cast, But yeah, she's fantastic. Danny DeVito was impressed by her extensive background in British theater and television and recognized that she possessed a dramatic range and physical presence needed to bring this larger-than-life villain to life. She apparently incurred several injuries during production of this film, though, which I didn't know about. In the scene where she's getting whacked by blackboard erasers, she had to keep her eyes open, which caused chalk dust to get caught in her eyes.
Geez.
And that apparently had to go to the hospital to get her eyes washed out, which that sucks. Oh gosh, the scene where she hurls Amanda Thripp around by her pigtails required a harness to support the little girl, which understandable.
And if I've seen like behind the scenes footage of them filming that, and kind of back to what we talked about earlier, just like the use of practical effects. Like nowadays, that whole thing would be totally CGI, but like they've literally got that girl, like the little Amanda, like on a crane harness essentially, and they're just like swinging her around, and it's really fun to watch the behind the scenes for this movie, not only to see those like practical things, but also both Pam Ferris and Danny DeVito, seeing how well they work with the kids like in between takes is it's just really fun to see, because like as soon as she like finishes hurling Amanda Thripp, she's like, "Oh, are you okay?" Like just like checking on the kid and stuff. And it's really funny to see like the mask drop of those characters when they're like working with the kids versus
that's nice. That's really nice. I was reading about that too. Yeah, they said it was a really good environment, which is you always like to hear, because sometimes you hear about behind the scenes, the filming was very chaotic, or the director was an asshole or something. But it sounds like Danny DeVito got along really well with the cast and was pretty caring to work with. I was reading, and this is sad, I think I knew this and then just forgot, but like Mara Wilson's mother was diagnosed with breast cancer like while this was filming, and then died on April 27th, 1996, which was 4 months before the film's release. And I think there's even a dedication in the movie to her memory, which is nice. But yeah, I can't imagine like Mara Wilson, like, I mean, she was a kid, so I'm sure she didn't even know how to process what was going on. But like doing this while this big, huge, life-affecting thing is happening is just crazy to think about. Oh, what else here? The that crank house that's what they called it, that where Miss Trunchbull's house has been used in a lot of other movies. It was in Scream 2. It was the Omega Beta Zeta sorority house, which is fun. I think the inside was used in Hocus Pocus, which is fun for the Allison scenes where she's in the old Victorian kind of getup. The picture of Miss Honey's father is Roald Dahl himself. Yeah, that's most of the kind of behind the scenes stuff here that I thought was particularly relevant. Generally positive reviews from critics. On Rotten Tomatoes right now, it has an 89% score, so which is pretty good based on 80 reviews. The general consensus is the Danny DeVito directed version of Matilda is odd, charming, and while the movie diverges from Roald Dahl, it nonetheless captures the book's spirit.
Yeah, and yes, it kind of diverges from the source material a bit, but I feel like this movie is a really good kind of example of taking that source material and really honoring it, but presenting it in kind of a newer way, and just like some smaller things that are different. But yeah, I feel like it kind of, like we said before, like it's definitely started to withstand the test of time, and like more people are like adding Rotten Tomatoes reviews and being like, hey, this actually holds up pretty well. Like now,
right? Which is always it's always nice. Like I said, I felt a lot of different sort of DNA points watching this movie that I didn't notice as much in the past. Like, I mean, there's a lot of like Tim Burton in here. And like I said, scoring is very similar to kind of Danny Elfman at times. We talked about this kind of Harry Potter and
one thing for me that I love is there's like, in a way, they set this up really similar to horror films of like
Yeah.
we don't see the Trunchbull until like that moment, that reveal.
Yeah.
Like we have all these shots of like her in shadow, or we like see over the shoulder, but like it's almost that idea of like the masked killer. Like we don't see her until
Yeah,
like,
that's a good
that
point.
big reveal, which is fun.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mentioned to my friend Chris that we were doing this episode in which he also loved this movie, and he mentioned the fact that it really is kind of a kid Carrie in a lot of ways too. It just the sense that this girl that developing her. Thankfully, she doesn't go quite to the extremes that Carrie does. But it could have gone very badly, like honestly, because she has these powers at the end, and she could have done some really twisted things with them. But I think she kind of holds herself back and does just enough to kind of scare that Trunchbull out of the building. And it's a quote unquote kid story, so there's that. Did you ever read any like Roald Dahl to your students when you?
Because when I was teaching, I was mainly in the 2s and 3s. Like I was like a little too young for like some of the full extent, but like there were certainly like they've since like made like children's book versions of the children's books, so there's like super like reduced version of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with a lot of pictures, and it's mainly just like, oh, we go to the chocolate factory, funny thing happens, like very short versions of these. So I didn't fully get to introduce them to the world of Matilda, but I do know that our pre-K classroom, the 5 and 6-year-old, they had like a full like box set of Roald Dahl books, like, and those were they would start to in the preschool room. They would have like each morning they would read like a chapter of a book, and so I know like those sometimes got picked out for that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I definitely resonated with it as a kid. So I mean, there's definitely something about these stories that, and just the like we said, the idea of like wanting to break free from your kind of neglectful parents or something, which I didn't have neglectful parents. I shouldn't say that, but I can see where a lot of kids would find that relatable.
And I think like even in the most like warm and supportive household environments, like as a kid specifically, like as a kid you feel like as an other, but like being a queer kid on top of it, even in the most like welcoming environment, there is that feeling of otherness, and like that's it's to not the extreme of Matilda, but like just thinking like them forcing her to watch television when she wants to read a book, and just that idea of being so different at like the bare bones from your family. I think there's that sense of like kinship, even if the environments hopefully are not as bad.
I think that's very true. And and then later in the movie she ends up resonating with Miss Honey, who also had sort of this very complicated backstory with everything that happened with her father, and of course with, as we find out, Aunt Trunchbull.
And I honestly, thinking back, this may be one of the first like media that like as dark as this is, presented the idea of suicide, and it brings it up very bluntly. Like Miss Honey to Matilda's like, her father killed himself. Like that's what they were telling everybody. Like he killed himself, and just like that concept as a kid was like, oh, that's something new. But to that point, like I think one of the reasons this movie stands up and holds the test of time is it's able to kind of present those topics to kids without like making it this huge thing, but also just like, this happens, like this is a reality. And I feel like this movie it presents a lot of those kind of tougher topics in a palatable, just like conversational way.
Yeah, you're right. It is kind of matter of fact, just saying like this is something that happens and it's part of reality. And then it kind of softens it a little bit because you find out that he didn't actually kill himself. Well, it's never really. I think it's pretty clear that she killed him, right? Like I think by the end that it's heavily suggested that. But even
especially with the police decided he killed himself, like that makes it seem very much like that's not what really happened.
Yes, this is true. And just the idea of like the shared trauma that Matilda has with Miss Honey in a lot of ways, because they both again have these complicated childhoods, and she was always a great role model because she's someone who did experience all of this like PTSD and trauma and things that impacted her as an adult, but then she didn't really allow it to destroy her, and she's still just this very warm person, damaged in some ways, like we all are. But I always appreciate that about the character, that they do give her this really kind of dark backstory, and she wasn't consumed by the darkness. Like she kind of, was able to find the light from that, which, was, even as a kid, I was like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah. It is good to have that, like, light at the end of the tunnel type.
Yeah,
like,
totally. It's like,
that.
oh, even if things are kind of shitty right now, like as a kid, like, oh, they're gonna get better. That was always nice. That's a great message, I think, in this movie. I can see why, again, a lot of like you said, a lot of queer kids in particular would resonate with that particular message. Yeah, like I said, the critics all really enjoyed it here. Roger Ebert said, "The Trunchbull is the kind of villainess children can enjoy because she is too ridiculous to be taken seriously and yet is mean and evil like the witch in Snow White. And since most children have, at one point or another, felt that their parents are not nice enough to them, they may also enjoy the portrait of Matilda's parents." Yeah, which is true. They're definitely a trip. These because there's the Danny DeVito character, like he's openly antagonistic to Matilda, but then the mom is kind of just this lush, narcissistic, person off in her own little world. She's not quite as like, antagonistic, but she is very neglectful, and she has her own problems to deal with. So she's.
It's funny because I feel like her mom is never outright malicious. It's just it's just like neglectful or just like stupidity. Like frankly, like I think she's like, there's fish fingers, heat them up if you're hungry. There's a can of soup on the stove, you'll figure it out. Like it's never like outright cruel like Danny DeVito is. She's just like just not good at being a mom. Or
it makes you wonder, like, if because they seem to treat her brother a lot better than they treat her, and it's like, well, how did they raise him? And like, was it just one of those things where like she used up all of her parenting skills on him, and then by the time she came around, she was just like, all right, this kid can raise herself.
Right.
It is interesting. Yeah, I mean, again, that's another similarity to Harry Potter with the the Dudley Dursley character that's always bullying Harry, and her brother is very the same way. What does he call her? Like dip dip face. Yeah. It
she gets that telekinetic carrot getting lodged in his throat. It's always a good sweet revenge when she flips it on.
Yes. Oh gosh, yes. She definitely gets hers in this movie, which I always appreciate. Yeah, we talked about the cast here. We got Mara Wilson, who at the time was probably best known for Mrs. Doubtfire, and then also Miracle on 34th Street. And right after this, she did A Simple Wish, which I love. Have you seen that? Yeah,
I love that movie so much. Yeah,
that's another great one that nobody ever talks about, and it's so good. With Martin Short and Kathleen Turner, and just it's so campy. It's so good.
And honestly, I'm still waiting for them to do a actual stage adaptation of that Tale of Two Cities show, because the music.
Oh yes.
That one song.
Oh my god, it's ingrained in my head.
Great.
It's a far better thing that I do now. Yes,
like that. Wait, can I put that in my audition book? That's a really imagine pulling that out.
It's a pretty good little cut. She had also apparently auditioned for The Parent Trap, which would have been interesting to see her in that. In 1999, she portrayed Willow Johnson in the film Balloon Farm, was the name of that movie. And then her last film was this 2000 adaptation of Thomas and the Magic Railroad. And that was the last movie that she did. And she's done some voiceover work since then. I didn't know she did an episode of Batman Beyond. That's fun. I do like that. And I remember, she did have that appearance on Broad City. I forgot about that. And, some voiceover work for BoJack Horseman, and some recurring voiceover work on the podcast Welcome to Night Vale. So she's done some stuff occasionally in her adulthood.
And she's also a queer icon as well.
Yes, that's fantastic.
We love that.
Yes,
because I believe she came out as bisexual, I believe, around or after the post shooting. And also, little known fact, she has disavowed and completely cut off, but she and Ben Shapiro are cousins, which is just kind of crazy to think about, like in the grand scheme of life. But
Yeah.
apparently that is one of her cousins, and they do not speak for many obvious reasons, because that type of
Interesting.
person should be disavowed.
Well, yeah. Sometimes you got to just cut that person out of your life. And wow. And Danny DeVito had just done like Batman Returns, which this character actually kind of reminds me a little bit of some of the mannerisms that he has with the penguin in there, just the delivery and everything. And he did Get Shorty and The Last Action Hero, that movie Junior with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, just all these kind of quirky little comedies. And of course, he's a director outside of this movie too. He did the War of the Roses, it's a really good dark comedy, and then Death to Smoochie a couple years after this, and
that's another one that I love that most people don't really know about or haven't.
No,
seen,
it's a
very dark film.
it's a weird one, but it's
and it's a reunion with Pam Ferris, which is fun.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. And then he did that movie Throw Mama from the Train and Duplex, and so he's directed quite a few films. I don't think a lot of people often think of him as a director. They think of him as an actor first, but he really has directed quite a few movies. And then Ray Perlman, like we said, who was most known for Cheers at the time, and recently, of course, was in Barbie. I love that she had that like little career resurgence with that. Yes. And Poker Face, she was in that, which is a great show. And then, like you said, Embeth Davidtz, who was, I believe, a South African. She had done like Schindler's List and Bridget Jones's Diary and 13 Ghosts, like we said, and all these, a bunch of TV shows too. And then Pam Ferris was mostly known for a lot of British TV shows at the time. Connie, The Darling Buds of May, Where the Heart Is, all these shows I've never seen, but that's what it says.
I think I, at some point, read like it was either between the two or like at some point she was in contention, but I think before Pam Ferris they were considering Miriam Margolyes, who Professor Sprout from Harry Potter films. She was I think she was in discussion or like considered at some point for Trunchbull. Which like I can see, but I feel like it wouldn't be as scary. Like she just has like, a softer like face and like warmer by nature. Sure, they could like prosthetic or something, but I feel like she just kind of exudes a more warm presence. And Pam Ferris is excellent choice. I think she's so well cast in this.
There's something so menacing about her in this role.
And like commitment to the character too. Like she is acting head to toe. Like every bit of her is this character.
Yeah, it's totally true. That's most of the cast there. And then of course Paul Rubens and Tracy Walter, who pop up here as these. I always forget that he's in this movie. Paul Rubens. It's I love seeing
what a great little cameo for him too. The speedboat salesman.
The quote unquote speedboat salesman. That's such salesman. And they're so clueless the whole movie. Like these two cops are sitting right outside their house for like half the movie, and
even like Danny DeVito's like, "There's no lakes near here. Like, what are we talking about?" Like,
the adults in this movie are definitely just clueless on their own level. They don't have any concept of really what's going on in the world or anything else.
I also have a theory that I use for this film that I also interestingly use for Home Alone. And I've talked to some people about this, but in movies like this, where it is like primarily the child perspective, and like these kind of larger than life adult characters, I always like artistically, I'm like, I would be interested in like figuring out which scenes are actually how they happened versus the child's perspective of how it happened. Like some of the like in Home Alone, like some of the conversations with like the parent figures, I'm like, I wonder if this is like Kevin's perspective of like how awful they treat, and like just like a fun little thought experiment, especially with Matilda. Like we talked specifically, like the cinematography, like it's from those wide angles, almost like from the child's vantage and perspective. And so it's like I wonder, like, it's just like a fun little like thing that I like to think about from films that like have a child protagonist, where like there are these like really big, larger than life like scenes or things like that. I'm like, is that the reality, or is that just the child perspective of that situation?
Yeah, that's an interesting theory for
Random
sure.
things that my brain pops up. The like director part in me is like,
Yeah, well,
this
yeah,
could
of
be a
course, of
fun
course.
choice to do.
Of course. If I ever did the stage reading of the Matilda the film script, then this is how I
Yes.
would. Yeah, and of course, this ended up getting a musical adaptation, which was pretty successful, and it even got a whole Netflix movie, which I didn't. I think I started. I never actually watched it. Did you?
Because I think it was wasn't that like another pandemic one that came out like around
It
or
was
during?
around, or yeah, maybe right after, but like in that genuine time, yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I don't think I finished it, but I distinctly remember the little girl going viral during the big dance scene. There's like a little girl in a red beret
yeah,
that is like
yeah,
popping off like crazy, and I remember that was
yeah,
all over social media. Of like, this little girl's amazing, and I hope
yeah,
she's
yeah.
doing well today. Booked and
Yeah, well,
blessed.
yeah, good for her. Yeah, I'm familiar with like some of the score, but I've never seen a production of it, so I can't really speak to if it's a good show or not. But it's I don't know. Yeah,
I one thing that's interesting is there in recent years there have been discussions on the casting of Trunchbull in
yeah,
the stage production, because it
right,
traditionally
right,
was originally written for a male actor to play the
right. A
role
drag
in
kind
drag.
of role. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and there have since been discussions of like, should this be a woman playing this role versus a
sure,
man doing a caricature of a woman? So it's just
right.
been interesting to kind of see like that conversation and how the character of Trunchbull has evolved in a couple different ways depending on the medium.
That's true. That's true. But you're right about the cinematography in this movie, in the sense that a lot of it is shot from like the child's perspective. And I think one of the scenes that remind me of that, watching that today, was when she walks into the library and she just looks up, and it's like this huge, shot of her looking up at the librarian. Well, Mrs. Phelps was the character's name, but the actress was Jean Frances Howard. And I was like, what have I seen her before? She was in the Buffy episode Teacher's Pet in season 1. She played that retired biology
She
teacher.
did.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Look at you.
I'm sure she's done like a lot of other things, but like that's
Right.
what I,
All
remember
roads
for.
lead back to that.
To Buffy the Vampire
just, I mean,
Slayer. Yeah. They are very selective about the adults in this movie. There are definitely more kids than there are adults. And even at the school, I realized like you never see any other teachers. It's just like Miss Trunchbull and Miss Honey, which is interesting that like, okay, where are all the other teachers that are
and like are the other adults just okay with this? Like, are none of you mandated reporters? What's happening?
I mean,
here?
Are the parents okay with this? Right. I mean,
Right.
she's literally just throwing these kids out there. I mean, I guess if they're sending them to a school like this, that they just don't give a shit, I
feel like that's also like it kind of speaks to the kind of trouble that kids always have, where like adults always think they're exaggerating about everything. And like, it's to an extreme with like Matilda's parents, where she's trying to be like, she threw a girl over the fence by her hair, and her mom's like on the phone just like, shut up. But like, how many times like as a kid did you like give like this larger than life story to your parents that are like, okay, sure, whatever. But like,
that's true.
Is this like the huge dark side of it? Like all these kids are like, you don't understand, and the parents like, it's whatever, you're fine. The bus dropped you off at 8 p.m. It's normal. Like, what?
Yeah, this happens all the time, right? Yeah, that does sort of support your theory a little bit in the sense that like, okay, did this actually happen on screen, or is it just like the what sort of Matilda is seeing in her little childhood brain? And it kind of plays up the sort of satire element too, a little bit of just like over the top, and it has to go over the top to like make a point about that. And like you said, it's like it could have actually happened, or it could have been a version of that, or it could have been something slightly less vicious, because man, she is throwing kids out the window left and right in this movie. And,
I mean, it's funny to like, well, it's not funny, but like just like looking back on the Bruce cake eating scene, like everybody's like, oh yeah, like she forced him to eat cake, and it's like, no, this is like actually really awful. This is like public humiliation ritual, like could have poisoned this kid with a disgusting cake and then breaking the glass platter over his head. Just like, this poor child.
No, that is one of the scenes that has stuck with me most in this movie, because it's like this demented nightmare. And in fact, it reminds me of the fifth Nightmare on Elm Street movie, actually. There's a scene like this where Freddy Krueger is just like aggressively shoving these big amounts of food into this girl's mouth. And yeah, it really is just a really disturbing thing. And they kind of, in this movie, turn it around a little bit where, you know, it becomes this kind of empowering thing where he's like, okay, I'll do it just to show her that I'll eat the cake, damn it. But it is still a really disturbing scene to watch.
Yeah. And even like it's I think it's another example similar to like the chase sequence of the house, where it's just like a really well thought out and executed like section of film. Like it's just shot really well, the score is really well, even the editing of like Bruce, like just this feeling of never being able to like get over eating all of this cake, how much it is, and little like thought bubbles popping up at the people. It's just really, really well executed, that whole sequence from top to bottom, I feel.
Yeah, totally. It definitely lingered with me over the decades, so they did something right there. And I was thinking about watching this time, all the food is so like elevated in a sense. Like it's so beautiful oftentimes. Maybe not the cake so much, but like a lot of the other food in the movie, it just like when she's making the pancakes and anytime they're having breakfast, and it almost looks like a cartoon that they've made like live action. You know how in cartoons like the food is always like this really like there's a steak and like, you know.
Yeah, even thinking like later in the film when they're talking about the speedboat salesman and like Matilda's making herself a sandwich. It's like it looks like the most delicious like peanut butter chocolate like combination thing. And her parents are eating kebabs of like marshmallows and like s'mores. Like it like looks like we're just having like delicious foods all the time.
Yes, this is a very Hufflepuff movie here, I guess.
Exactly.
Was there anything in particular from the story that like stuck out from you this time around?
I think in particular, like it's a really good story of like trusting your instincts, I think, first. And also like I think it really teaches to not underestimate the perspective of children. And kind of their experiences. That's like one thing that like really kind of stuck out. And especially like having a figure like Miss Honey, like she does take the time to like individually connect with the children. Like even as far as like after Amanda Thripp has been thrown over the fence by her pigtails, there's a specific shot of Miss Honey undoing her pigtails and like making her look pretty, making her look put together. Like, it's that idea of like, to me, and it's something that like always stuck out is even in this horrific, terrifying school, this horrible situation, like she is still choosing kindness. She is still choosing to be that person for these other people. And that like, not to get all like hoity-toity, but like that's like something that I've always like really tried to, I don't know, live in my life, is like it is more difficult to be kind in situations. Like especially like the conscious choice of choosing kindness is the harder decision most of the time. And I feel like this movie is just a really, really beautiful example of that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, especially in this day and age when, you know, meanness is king. It really is. It's kind of a like punk rock statement to be nice, you know. It's these days because everybody else is so who the fuck knew? Because everybody else is so, you know, fucking mean, and we're all at each other's throats all the time. And yeah, you're right. And yeah, she has every reason to be like a very bitter character, and she's just not Miss Honey. And that's just, you know, it is aspirational. And I think even as a kid, it was nice to see that portrayed on screen. I thought it was interesting that Danny DeVito is both the narrator and the dad in this. I don't really know if there was sort of anything behind that choice, but it was interesting. It reminds me a little bit of how, like in Peter Pan, like the dad is usually Captain Hook, right? That character too.
Even like a little like Wizard of Ozzy feel of like
that too
doubling in certain roles and figures in the main character's adventure.
Right.
Even like thinking like, I know we mentioned earlier, Jumanji does that as well too.
Oh, totally.
The dad and Van Pelt.
Yeah. Yes, that was kind of a fun little choice here. But yeah, there's so many great one-liners. Like I think you said earlier that stood out for me. And some of them are very funny. Some of them are very insightful. I'm sure some of them are taken straight from the book. Like I like toward the beginning of the movie where the narrator says, by the time she was 2, Matilda had learned what most people learned in their early 30s. How to take
I wrote
care of
that one
herself.
down. And I was like, as someone in my 30s,
yes.
This is so interesting to imagine. Just like, great, this 2-year-old needs to be able to do what I do on a daily life. And even like her like walking to the library, I like wrote down, I was like, did nobody call? Like nobody saw this like 2-year-old just walking multiple blocks every single day by herself to the library.
Yes, exactly.
And I think at that point I wrote down, I was like, to me, this is the difference of Matilda and Harriet the Spy. It's suburbs versus like downtown living. Like Harriet the Spy is like downtown, whereas like this is more suburbs of, oh, well, I'm just going to walk to the library by myself and all of this stuff.
That's true. It would be a great like 96 double feature. Yeah, just to get the sort of different perspectives on these really intelligent kids, but like you said, Harry is a little more kind of snarky, and I like how her parents don't even know how old she is. Like, you know, five then. That line cracks me up. And the idea that like children can and to some degree should punish their parents when they've done something bad. I thought that was kind of an interesting, because you didn't see that a whole lot in kids media at the time. And
I do feel like that's something that is almost like time capsule of the 90s. I feel like we were lucky that like we got some media of kids getting like rightful revenge on like adults that have wronged them. I feel like you don't see that as often anymore. Like
not as much. Yeah. Usually the outside villain is just some villain from the outside. Like, you know, it's not a parent figure or something. So yeah, you're right. That is kind of, it does feel very of the time. Oh God, that let's get sticky with John Lovett's game show. I forgot about that.
$1 million sticky.
Yeah,
it's another one of those that like watching back as an adult, like that scene actually is quite dark. Like he's ripping this book apart and then like force holding her head to watching this television. Like it's like, oh, this is like not okay by any means.
It's I mean Danny DeVito, before this he had made adult dark comedy films, and you can tell that he's sort of trying to balance that in this movie of like, how much can I get by with and still have it be like a family PG rated movie here, because he definitely pushes the boundaries, and it's stuff that I like you said, the Bruce eating the cake scene, but the movie has stakes, which I appreciate, you know, which I think is what's lacking from a lot of movies these days. Like you just know the characters and stuff are going to be fine. You know, there's definitely a danger, particularly with the Trunchbull character throughout. What is the first time she throws someone out the window, and the dialogue that Matilda has with, what's her name? Hortensia? Is that the character or whatever? And she's like, was he okay? And she's like, after being thrown out a window? Of course he wasn't okay.
he lived, if that's what you mean. Hortensia is great. Like
she's
I feel like this movie is rife with that meme of like, I hate gay Halloween. What do you mean you are blank? Like, I hate gay Halloween. What do you mean you're Hortensia from Matilda?
From Matilda.
Right.
From that 1996 classic Matilda.
Right.
Yeah, totally. She definitely sells the limited screen time she has, which is fun.
Yeah, she's great.
And like we said, Amanda, that actress is great too. Jacqueline Steger. She doesn't have too many scenes, but man, she just very memorable in this movie.
She is really great in that scene.
Yeah, like just the way she says, like, no, Miss Trunchbull. It's just that's the vocal stem that's in my head forever, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and I feel like this, at least from like the behind the scenes that I've seen, or like even when they do like small reunions or stuff. Like I know they did like a couple years ago, they did like a small like lunch reunion of like all these actors, and they reenacted some of the moments as adults, which is fun. But it really does seem like the children, when they were working on the film, loved working on it and had a really good time, which is so good to see, especially like when there are those darker moments of like terror or traumatizing these small characters.
Sure.
The fact that the children seem to have had a good experience when that was not always the case in some of these studios.
No,
and good to see.
kids just tend to not overthink things either. You know, you can just tell them like, okay, pretend like you're scared here. And they'll be like, okay, like whatever, you know, without it sort of having this long-term effect on them, hopefully anyway. So that I'm sure that helped with the filming of this and something like Harry Potter too, you know, that because there were so many kids in a movie like that too. Oh, I like that. She referenced, what is it? Lately, I've been reading Daryl's Chickens, but I mean, Charles Dickens, which made me think later on in the movie, it's very sort of a Christmas Carol adjacent where she's getting revenge on the Trunchbull and she's in that robe the whole time.
Yeah.
So it just kind of made me think of it was like, oh, she probably got this idea from reading like A Christmas Carol, which was funny. Yeah.
And even like her acts of revenge on the Trunchbull, like specifically knowing how to make her lose her mind, like that's like a level of like deeper. It's not just I have really cool powers, but like I also psychologically am gonna damage you. Like like I'm gonna destroy the Trunchbull, which is the ways that she goes about it. Like even if the character Matilda doesn't fully understand, oh, maybe the Trunchbull actually murdered Miss Honey's dad and like faked a suicide. Like she doesn't understand the full gravity of it, but she's like, I'm gonna get her. Like
yeah, she knows to call like Miss Honey little bumblebee and things like that. And then the whole I wrote it down because it's such a great little line there at the end. What is it? Agatha, this is Magnus. Give my little bumblebee her house and her money. Then get out of town. If you don't, I will get you. I will get you like you got me. That is a promise.
I think that was one of those little monologues as a child that I like memorized. I would like memorize the most random things from. I used to have every single one of the Jumanji rhymes memorized. Like I would immediately be able to just like rattle them off.
I still know all the spells from Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Like those are just kind of like rolling around in my head. So yeah, I definitely get that. You just become sort of fixated on something as a kid, and then it just kind of becomes ingrained in your head for life.
Yep. And then we talk about it on a podcast here.
And then you talk about a podcast, which is
and we have fan art hanging in our house.
Exactly. Probably the most honestly iconic line in this movie is the one that Ray Perlman has. The one, you chose books, I chose looks. I have a nice house, a wonderful husband, and you are slaving away teaching snot-nosed children their ABCs.
I hope she had fun filming this movie because like,
I hope so. She
seems like she's having a blast. And I also think too, like the filmmaker's credit and like Danny DeVito's credit, like giving her the line at the end of the movie being like, you were the only daughter I've ever had and I just didn't get you. Like giving her that moment and her being the one to decide like, okay, who's got a pen? Like, let's do this one good thing for this child. Like, I like that she has that kind of little redemption, even if she was a terrible mother up to this point, like, she can do one thing to give her daughter a good life. And like the recognition of like, I just didn't understand you. Like, I like that was included in there.
Yes. And for a moment you think that she's going to be like, oh no, Matilda, like come with me. Like you're my daughter or whatever. But then it's just like, who's got a pen? Like it just makes sense for the character because it is a nice gesture, but it's not quite the big, you know, the big warm gesture that would have been like, oh, Matilda, please come with us, you know.
And I think only because I working in corporate America now, I'm a notary. I'm like, I think that they would need at least a notary to sign off on these papers. Like they need somebody. Like I don't know that this would hold up in a court of law. Like,
I thought about that too. She had all this paperwork filled out and ready to go, and all that needed was a signature. I think it's a little more complicated, especially if they're going to be running off to Guam. I'm pretty sure like the social service would want to like check
fugitives.
Yes. Oh God, that's such a funny little aspect of the movie too. That he's like this car salesman and a really crooked car salesman. And
I do always wonder where the Trunchbull ends up. And like I similar to like my like weird Home Alone thing, I also like to find movies and be like, this is a sequel that is like unofficial. I know you and I have talked about it before, but like how Heavyweights and Dodgeball, that's the same series.
You could see the same universe.
Ben Stiller is the same character, just moving to a new career. Like that's like my cinematic universe.
That makes
sense.
I
wonder if like where does the Trunchbull show up? Is that her in Death to Smoochie? And like Danny DeVito
Maybe.
character as well. They're like new con identities that they're doing.
Oh yeah, my favorite one is Ferris Bueller's Day Off to Election with Reese Witherspoon, because like he's just this burnt out teacher that has sort of partied in his youth and now is just trying to take it out on this young student. Which anyway, but yeah, you're right. What is this character doing now? Has she changed her identity and like started a new life somewhere else? And
Right.
I don't think she's capable of learning any big moral lessons. So did she just go to a different school? And
I mean, once you get to the point where you're throwing kids over the fence by their hair, there's no turning back.
There's no turning back from that. She's not coming back from that.
Yeah, that's her place in life now.
her shtick, right? Yeah, breaking glass over kids' heads, throwing kids in the chokey, and
I think one of my other just random quotes that I wrote down because it just makes me laugh so much is the moment where the Trunchbull visits the classroom. She's like, you couldn't spell difficulty if your life depended on it, and everybody spells it, and so the only thing she can get back on them is like, okay, will you prove me wrong? She's like, why are all these women married?
Yes, Mrs. D, Mrs. A, yes.
I die laughing. It's like that moment of like, I'm gonna get you on something. I don't have anything, so I'm going to make the most random thing.
Whatever comes out of my mouth is what I'm going to say. Yeah.
And just like to me, it just speaks to like Pam Ferris's ability in this movie of like just how ridiculous that whole sequence is, but like the stakes are there and it is so real the entire time.
You do have to wonder if she ad-libbed some of these lines or if it was in the actual script. Like she has the one that's like, I like a joke as well as the next fat person. Like just things like that. They're like, oh, okay, good for you for you know.
Well, even like Matilda has like some snarky lines too when they're talking about the painting. She's like, whoever painted this must have had a strong stomach. Like, damn, Matilda.
Savage.
Right.
Yeah, it's true. When Miss Honey is like trying to make her feel better about the fact that she can't use her powers, and Matilda's like, it's not like that. Like she's like, Miss Honey has all these like,
nice try,
Matilda.
No.
Like sometimes we can't do things that like, we think we can do it. We were able to in the past, and Matilda's just like, it's really not like that. No, like stop talking to me like I'm fine. You wouldn't know. And yeah, the scene she had with Lavender are cute. There's not a lot of them, but they are cute. Like the best friends don't tell, that kind of thing. But yeah, that Trunchbull character, there's just so many. She's very simple, but then also very complicated. Like she has like these little traits, like the fact that she's very superstitious and afraid of black cats. I love that. I don't always like prequels, but like I would totally watch a prequel of this character just to see like how they think that she got to be this way, because man, she is something.
I feel like we don't often get just like true unfiltered villains like this for children anymore.
True.
And like for better or worse, like I know a lot of like Disney lately has been doing like, we are the villain, but here's why. And like we get like the full understanding of what brought them to this path. And like, oh, they're not actually evil, this X, Y, and Z. But like I feel like Trunchbull is just evil. And like I would love a prequel of like just kind of like bad Trunchbull. Like I don't necessarily want a redemption for her. I would
that's true.
To just be like just the true kind of like why she was this way.
Yeah, I mean, she murders her brother. It's assumed anyway. Like how do you get to that point where you're just willing to kill him? For what reason? Like for the house? Because it's a nice house, I guess, but it's she needs a maid. I was gonna say, like, the house
she doesn't keep up with it. So if it was for the house, you need to clean it up, lady.
When Matilda and Miss Honey are running around that house, there is crap everywhere. Like especially that stairwell scene where they're going down the stairs, and there's just like all these random objects on the floor, and I'm like, man, you need to keep this up. She does keep the chocolate box full though. I was thinking about that. Like Miss Honey is referencing like these chocolates from her past, and I'm like, well, I hope those aren't the same chocolates, because they've been sitting there for like
those have probably got some bugs or something in them.
Yeah, you need to. It's interesting that like there really only are two big featured songs in the soundtrack, but they're used in such memorable ways. That "Send Me on My Way" is used at the beginning, and then I think toward the end, right, it comes back.
Yeah, I think they use it in the like kind of closing sequence of like Matilda and them like fixing the house up and all that stuff.
And then the other big one is the Little Bitty Pretty One by Thurston Harris, which I was reading was originally supposed to be Matilda, the song by Harry Belafonte. So like they changed that at some point in the process. But I mean, it works. What they use is perfect. The little bitty pretty one with her just dancing around and everything.
Yeah. I feel like it's also a good, like, the use of like black and white and grays versus color in this film is also really, really good too. Like the way they're able to like really juxtapose that of like breathing life into things through the use of color versus this really stark contrast of like even like all of the shots of like in Mr. Wormwood's auto shop. Like it's all of these like rusty colors and everything. And like until Matilda really starts to come into her own, like there's not like a bunch of color in her life. But like when she starts using her powers, there's like this huge explosion of color that comes in, like even down to like her red hair like ribbon is so like bright red and iconic. Like I feel like, like the use of color is really, really well done in this film too, for that way.
Yeah, you're right. It is, particularly that school is very gray and garb and menacing, but the little bits of color that, particularly in like Miss Honey's classroom, that she's able to sort of bring to it because she feels like she's responsible for, you know, trying to bring some color to these kids' lives. Yeah. The cabin that she has is just it's beautiful, and I mean I love the whole flashback sequence in the movie too, where you learn about her backstory. The image of her as like a young teen, like sitting on the swing, and then the Trunchbull like puts her hand on the shoulder and stuff. Like it's just one of those pictures that's just so ingrained in my brain.
They do such a really good job of creating this villain for like a kid's film to make her truly like we talked earlier, like we don't see her for a while. We get all these like side shots or profile or in shadow, and it's just this like looming threat. And then the moment we see her, it's that big close up of her being like fresh meat, and she throws a girl over the fence. Like it's like from the moment we see her, it is clear that this is a villain to not to be messed with.
Not every villain has to be this totally nuanced thing, and if you make them too nuanced, then they lose the danger. And there are people like this in real life that I think are just bad people, you know, and I'm sure there are reasons for that, but you don't always have to humanize them too much. Like sometimes they can just be bad people. So yeah, that is kind of refreshing to watch some of these movies where just to see like a pure unadulterated villain like this.
So I have one, like I always like to like grab a quote from like a movie or something, like whenever it sticks out to me. And this time the one, it's one of the narrator quotes that just like really like this watch that stuck out to me. And it's sometimes Matilda longed for a friend, like the kind, courageous people in her books. It occurred to her that such talking dragons and princesses with hair long enough to climb, such people might only exist in storybooks. But she was about to discover she had a strength she wasn't even aware of. And like, I just really liked that like idea of like, you like just the idea of like, I am in this situation where there's, I need something and I don't have it. It's some external thing that I need, but like being able to find that within yourself, I think like, especially like we talked earlier in 2026 in this lovely environment that we're in, like being able to make the conscious choice to choose kindness and to find the strength within yourself. A lot of those like messages came out for me in this rewatch, which a sign of the times of getting older and reflecting on like growing up versus like now and the environment we're in. That was just like one quote that I was like, that I'm gonna put that in my back pocket this time.
Totally.
I found one more thing that I wrote was just funny. In the just the Trunchbull like on the blackboard or whatever, like I remember it's in the background or we see her write it, but at some point there's a shot that says like, if you're having fun, you're not learning. It just made me laugh. I was like, it's just like such a like true depiction of what the school is like. Like, oh gosh, if you're having fun, you're not learning. Like it made me laugh when I saw it in whatever shot that was.
But yeah, this is really a really fun one to revisit. And today is the official 30th anniversary when we're recording. So that worked out pretty well. We were going to record yesterday and it actually worked out pretty perfectly with that. So
happy 30th, awesome. Matilda.
Happy 30. You look great. You look fantastic.
You look great. Well, and who knows? I know Mara Wilson like is big on podcasts and stuff. Maybe she'll hear this. So if you do hear it, Mara Wilson, this movie changed my life for the better. I said, yeah. I've got a print of you
well, of course,
in my apartment. Like, thank you for this film. It's great.
For sure. Danny DeVito, we love your work too, you know?
Yes.
And
so good.
Great little time capsule. It does, in some ways, like you said, feel very of the 90s, but then it also has this sort of timeless quality to it too. Where can people find you on social media, Travis?
Yeah, I am on Instagram. So just at Travis Monroe. I believe I'm tagged in some of the posts about this episode.
Yes.
But yeah, that's where I'm hanging out. If you want to come see, I usually just post updates of the times that I go to Disney World and run around in costumes, or other events that I do. So
we will definitely have you back on here soon, Travis. After we get done recording, there's another movie I was going to talk to you about coming up fairly soon. And as always, folks, if you want to follow this podcast, the Instagram is Y2Gay Movie Pod. You can also leave a review on iTunes if you want, or anywhere else, Spotify, wherever. And we got some great movies coming up too. Like we said, one of our mutual friends is going to be coming on pretty soon to talk about Get Over It, which is a great little movie, great little teen movie that nobody ever talks about, and they should. And I don't know why, because honestly, I think it's better than some of the teen movies that people do talk about. To be honest,
some of Martin Short's best work, honestly. Like, it's so good.
Yes, yeah. So if you haven't revisited that one or Matilda, like make sure to go. Go to your local video store and pick them up while they still have copies available. Like I said, we'll be back next week, and have a great week, everyone. Okay, bye.
Bye.